Good morning, you beautiful people. Monday, June the 29th. I want to tell a story today about two friends that I had, both named James. One of them that I called James, the other one that I called Jim. James was a childhood friend who had grown up with me. I met him when I think was 15, and he was in our Dungeons and Dragons group, and he was my best friend for a couple of years. We were just constantly playing Dungeons and Dragons together. He was very strict evangelical, and he stopped playing Dungeons and Dragons, as a matter of fact, because he felt like God wanted him to do that. And so, respected that, whatever. But very, very nice guy, though. The kind of guy that really helped you, the kind of guy you really could trust. That was my friend James as a teenager. Now, fast forward just a few years, go forward till I'm in my probably 2021, and I'm working for a computer company in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I grew up in Sulphur, Louisiana. I'm working in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, about 2.5 hours worth of distance. Working for a computer company. I hire another guy named James, but we called him Jim. And this second James, in this James and James story, the second James was an employee, and I didn't know him very well, but he came to work for me, and he was very talented. And so we were building a whole lot of computers then, and I had at sometimes 15 or 20 people back in the warehouse building computers. And we were just getting orders, and business was just growing like crazy, and everybody was buying them, and it was a boom time. And so I hired James off the street, and he was a referral. He was the first cousin of my lead technician. So I got to know him a little bit, and he was a funny guy, and we were trying to teach him how to build computers, but really he was a better manager and salesperson. But I had known him, let's say, for about 6 months. So I had the second James working for me about 6 months, and the first James had gone to seminary, so preacher school, right? And he called me because he was going to be on his summer break, and he said, "John, I really need some work. You know of anywhere I could get some work?" And I said, "Oh, James, I have plenty of work." I said, "If you want to come down here," I said, "you can stay with us, stay at the house with me and my wife and sleep there, and you can work for me, and I'll pay you well." I said, "But I got so much work." And I said, "You have some computer abilities, that helps a little bit." And so he came to work for me, and I put him back there. So both James and Jim are back there in the tech department working together at kind of an entry level, right? So when my preacher friend James meets my employee Jim, they get into a very friendly relationship. And Jim, the employee, one day, James says, "Jim, do you have a family? You got a wife or kids?" And Jim, as a joke, turns to my childhood friend James, and he tells him a story. He says, "Well, James, I don't tell this to many people, but my wife died in a car accident, and I had 2 little children, just a year apart in age." He said, "They all died, fiery car crash." And he tells him this story, and then he goes on to tell about the recovery period and all of this stuff. And it's all a lie. It's all completely fabricated, and he's telling it with a straight face. And he gets my childhood Jim friend to cry. He gets him into tears because he's a tenderhearted guy. He's a preacher, man. He really is into ministry and loving people. He gets him to cry with this story, and then tells him that it's a joke.
That's horrible.
Okay, it's horrible. Absolutely, this is the most horrible thing you could do to a person. But as the rest of the story, and now for the rest of the story, Paul Harvey used to always tell it. And now for the rest of the story, right? So now go forward. I don't know, 3 years, 4 years. No longer in Baton Rouge, in Houston, Texas, got my own computer company. Jim, that employee from the back, has become my number 1 manager for that company, right? And we still have about maybe 12 or 13, 14 employees. I don't remember, something like that. But he's become the manager. And so, however it happens, the other childhood friend decides to call one day while I'm not at the office, and he knows James is there. And I'm traveling in Louisiana, so they don't know where I am in this moment. And James calls the employee James on the phone, and for 20 minutes convinces him that I have been killed in a car crash. And he knows that there's no way that Jim can verify it. Right? This is 3 years later. He knows that there's no way Jim can verify it. And Jim is very reactionary, not like James. Very, very different. He's very super reactionary. Wah! And so that goes on for about 30 minutes, and he puts him through some absolute hell as revenge for that incident 3 years prior. What I want to say about that, and what we want to talk about today, is the placebo effect. It's the effect that you think something has happened and it's affecting you physiologically, it's affecting you emotionally, it's affecting you spiritually, in every way. And it's only because you've believed it. So before we get into that, I want to read, not just from my story, but I want to read a couple of other things about the placebo effect. In World War II, when frontline morphine ran out, medic Henry Beecher injected wounded soldiers with saline solution, and 40% of them reported becoming pain-free. Dr. Bruce Moseley gave osteoarthritis patients fake knee surgery. He gave one group fake knee surgery, just made an incision and didn't do anything, made an incision and sewed it up. And the other one on their knee surgery, he actually did the knee surgery. And the people who only got the fake surgery, right, reported identical long-term mobility relief as the real group, right? Parkinson's patients given a fake shot, told that it would cost $1,500, showed double the motor improvement and dopamine production compared to those that told it cost $100, right? There's a story and it's a fantastical story in the beginning of The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And he tells a story of a father who had a daughter who had a very debilitating, painful skin disease where she had these sores all over her and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. And he kept saying over and over, I'll give my left arm if someone can cure my cure my daughter. I'll give my left arm if we can find a cure. I'll give my left arm. And he kept saying it, and he got in a car accident with his arm hanging out the window. It shaved his arm off, and right afterwards, his daughter was completely healed. You can say that's just fantasy. No, I want to say that all of this is the placebo effect, that what you believe has a dramatic effect on your life experience, your consciousness experience. Anthony Ferguson, what do you have to say about that?
So definitely it's acceptable to lie if it helps someone to improve, right?
Well, now that's a good. Now we're really into morals there, right? We're really diving deep into morals, because how do you know it's going to help them improve? You don't know that it's going to help them improve,
right? Because if you have, you said 30 or 40% of people that, he gave them that saline solution and they felt better.
Right? Yeah, 40%. What if the other 60%? Right?
Right. I mean, you're still less than half of the people that you're like, man, we just
yeah. And I would just say no, Anthony. I would say no. And I think back to the movie The Invention of Lying with Ricky Gervais, and his mother's dying and no one believes in an afterlife, and he's the only person that's learned how to lie. So, and his mother is dying and she thinks it's the end of her life, and she's sad and he's sad, and he tells her a story about heaven and she believes it, and all of a sudden she gets happy, right? And with the intention being the same thing that you just said. We're telling a lie because we think it's better for the person, and I disagree. I don't think in that circumstance that telling a lie is a good thing. I think that if you read the Bible, It talks about how the midwives who delivered the babies lied to Pharaoh when Pharaoh said, kill all the firstborn sons of Israel. And the midwives lied and hid those babies. I think that's an acceptable form of lying. I think if someone breaks into my house and they got a gun to my head and says, anyone under the bed, my wife's under there, I'm going to say, absolutely not. Right? But lying to someone because you think it's going to improve their life? No.
Right. So can positive think, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, can positive thinking change physical reality?
I think yes. I think we just proved that completely. If the placebo effect, I mean, when I was looking up a little bit of it this weekend, I mean, there's just example after example after example of medical studies, and the doctors don't want anything to do with it because it puts them out of business. If the placebo effect is indeed real and scientifically proven, then all we really need to do is change people's belief. We don't have to give them any pills. We don't have to give them any therapies. It's knee surgery and he gets better. So that's absolutely a positive belief, changing physical reality.
Right. So what does placebo effect reveal about human consciousness?
That we are gods in our own reality, because each of us is in our own reality. Each of us is I am, and each of us is creating our own reality. Our realities intersect, but we're in our own reality, and we are God in that reality. For we are all sons and daughters of the Most High, right? We're all gods in our own reality.
Right. So if your brain creates the cure, who really cure you, right? I mean, you've been thinking
I am cures you. It's not your brain curing you. It's I am that cures you, right? All the power rests in I am. Your brain is just a tool, like a hammer. That's it. You need to think of your brain as a tool, because if you don't see the separation between you and your brain, you're very lost. You don't understand reality. If you think you are your brain, if you think you are your thoughts, because you are not your thoughts. You are the presence that observes your thoughts.
Right. So what other aspect of life might be driven by a placebo effect?
Anything. Absolutely anything. I've seen people react 100 times on false information, and you don't know what's going to happen. We do this all the time on deals. Someone says, I'm going to take it, I'm going to do this, and they agree, and they agree, and they agree, and then they don't. And so you hear me say all the time, don't think this deal is going through till that money's in your bank. When the money's in your bank, you say, yep, that's a finished deal. You can say, okay, that's a finished deal and we'll celebrate. Until then, things go up and things go down. And think about with the number of deals that we go through, the number of people that we talk through, if we got really disappointed every time a deal fell through for some reason, we'd stay really disappointed all the time. Because, and that's just not understanding how things work, right? We're in the communication business, getting people to communicate to one another, and that often fails because people in general are bad communicators.
Right, I definitely agree. So let me ask you this. Where is the line between belief and biology?
Well, there isn't one. So you actually are creating all of yourself, right? Because if you look at a saint, and they have absolute control over the material world, so they treat the world like the Matrix, right? They've become Neo, and they can manipulate the world around them as they choose. They can manipulate their body, they can manipulate matter. So I can't tell you that I've ever seen a saint do that, but I've read thousands of accounts of them doing it. And someone might say, well, that's all ridiculous because it's a miracle and you've never seen it happen. Well, that's true, but I have a whole lot of other reason to believe it. But I don't think there's any line between the belief and the biology. You're projecting yourself. Your I am projects who you are, your physical reality. And if you stop believing that you exist, you will stop existing in this reality.
I'm just curious. I'm sorry to cut you off, Anthony, but I mean, we talked about the Shaolin monks the other day, and they showcased themselves sitting in a boiling pot of water and nothing's happening to them. They're as calm as can be, or they're balanced on 5 spears that they have themselves held up onto. And, we think of that as, well, maybe they just got years worth of training and they've developed techniques to get to this point. but
It started with
really
belief.
exactly.
Right. So are expensive treatments sometimes just expensive placebos?
Yes, 1,000%. Absolutely.
Right. So my last question for you, John. What's your first experience with the placebo effect?
My mother telling me about hell and God, and how if I wanted to spend eternity with the beautiful God, I needed to accept Jesus into my heart, because if I didn't, I would go to this horrible place where no one wants to go and everything is horrible all the time. And I think that was the number one thing, that number one program, at least, that I had to undo. But that was the biggest lie I was told. The first big lie that I was told in life that I remember was that I was not born complete. I was born lacking someone, and it's actually someone, and I had to ask this invisible person to come live inside me. Otherwise, I went to the bad place.
Right. That's all from my side. Erin?
Well, I got a question for both of you. Have you guys ever tried to use the placebo effect intentionally in your life? Just, you know, something's bad, but you're like, I'm just going to convince myself that it's good. And what did you guys?
Well, I used it before because when I was a kid, we used to have this video game, and my cousin, which was older, he had this experience playing this video game. And I'm like, how are you so good at it, right? And he's like, you know what? And there's close to the house, there was a plant that have like a red, and there's a tiny seed inside, but it's a red and black seed. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Cannot recall the name. And he said, when I want to play this, when I want to win the video game, I put these seeds, like 5 or 6, in my pocket, and then I have luck. So I'm like, oh, let me try it. So I went outside in the garden, looked for the seed, took the seed, realized that the seed had no meaning whatsoever in the game, but I took the seed, put it in my pocket, and I won the game. But it wasn't like immediately. Only 2 or 3 games after, I win, and I started to say, let me use the seed anytime I want to play a game and win the game, which I know that it was just I'm consciously meaning that I want to use the seed to have this effect on my video game, whatever. So
you're definitely more lucky if you're just thinking about I'm lucky as hell.
I agree. But I was using the seed for, like as a placebo effect.
What about you, John?
Well, for me, I had this assistant, young guy from Indiana, and he went on vacation back to the United States, and he comes back with this thing called this Elf Bar, and it was this little vaporizer, and and it was so good. It was just, oh man, it's very refreshing, right? A little bit of nicotine, give you a little pop in there. And then he said to me, you know, Anthony Huberman's got this podcast about nicotine, says nicotine can be good for you. And I tried to convince myself through my whole addiction that it was until I finally got rid of it. So yes, that was me resisting someone else trying to put the placebo effect on me. But you know, thank goodness I don't have to work with that guy. Thank goodness I don't have to work with that. I don't have to work with that guy anymore.
I'm just going to say this to all of our viewers. I also told them that there was other things to it. The stimulation and nicotine can be used for good, but if you're overusing it, well, then there's a line where it's not good for you.
He told me that in between taking Devin puffs on the super delicious vape.
All right. My next question: would you guys ever sign up for a placebo study, whether it's a surgery or a case study of something like that, where you're walking in knowing that this might not be true that they're giving me?
I would have no problem with it whatsoever. I mean, I wish somebody could do it for me, right? And I could see the effect from it. But the thing is that person would have to lie, and I would just know, right? There's no way to trick yourself into it in an honest fashion. Anthony?
Yes, well, I had this story where from I was a kid, I used to travel with my aunt, and whenever I'm traveling in the bus, I get dizzy easily, right? So my aunt used to like give me like techniques that don't lean back on the seat because you're gonna be like jumping and all that. You're gonna get dizzy easily. So like put a little go further, right? It didn't work. I threw it up. So the next time we had to go to Le Mans, I'm like, aunt, I need to throw up, right? I need to use a plastic bag, whatever. And she's like, you know what? I brought a pill will help you release the feelings of vomiting, whatever. So she gave me a regular pill, which was like a candy, Menta, and I took it and I was fine. So that was okay. I didn't throw up, whatever. And years after, I realized that whatever I see on the news, whatever I see on the news, and they talking about the disease. There's a news reporter, John Clark, saying, you know what, there's a disease around, you're gonna give you fever, gonna give you, and I listened to that. I immediately start to react to it. So I walked to my sister's house and I said, I have the disease that they just say on the news. She's like, ah, you're kidding. And literally, she took me to the hospital, and with all the same symptoms, and the doctor started to make tests and all that. And I'm like, but weird, because all your plaquetas and all that is fine. How can you have this? And then I realized that that's the number one quality that I had, that I quit watching news and all negative things. Because anything they said, and if they say like, take care, this gonna be this.
Okay, and I think that's a great point, because Darren and I, from living in the United States, know when you're watching US TV, it's full of pharmaceutical commercials that are trying to convince you might be sick. If you have one of these 18 symptoms, you might have irritable leg syndrome, ILS, and if you do have ILS, one of these 18 symptoms, ask your doctor about, Supermel cures ILS. And the side effects are only possible heart attack, stroke, huge rashes, sores on your ass. I mean, it's crazy that they allow that, right? Because in essence, the news is just a big placebo effect, because that's what propaganda is. They're trying to tell you something and get you to believe it that they know is not accurate. Right? If you watch one side of the news or other, you watch NBC or you watch Fox, and you get the two sides of the news, you get hopefully 3/4 of the truth. Because it seems like there's always a part of the truth that none of them are going to look at, because we're trying to run a narrative to make you keep watching. But it's all a big, manipulation of belief, right?
Yep, exactly. What's that website that if you look up online and like, I remember I used to do it all the time whenever I'd have a symptom or a sick, and I'd just say, I got a headache, and it'd be like, you have terminal cancer. That was like the first thing. It'd be like, oh,
are you talking about WebMD? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, WebMD.
Yeah. Like the third time I used that, I just thought, no, I don't need to use this. I really do need to go to a doctor. Yeah, I don't need to use this, because he puts all these ideas in your head that you're thinking, maybe I have had lupus my whole life. Whatever.
It always gets the worst thing. Like, whenever you look up your symptoms, I actually stopped looking up my symptoms because of that website. I mean, I'm not saying anybody should stop looking up their website, because you always should get your own opinion on something, but stay away from WebMD. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Horrible. All right, my last question. Do you guys think that poor people are more susceptible to the placebo, or rich people?
Neither.
You think it's the same?
It depends on the person. I don't think that's a factor. I think the factor is, I would say, between someone is intelligent or not intelligent. I think the less intelligence a person has, the more susceptible they would be to it. Because I think the more intelligent a person is, the more they second guess. So if you to say rich or poor, no, but to say intelligent or not intelligent or lesser intelligent, average intelligence, I think the higher intelligence a person has, the less effect it's going to have on them, because they think about all the options. I mean, but you asked earlier if I would be okay going into something with a placebo effect. I think I would not be affected by the placebo because I would go into it knowing there's a placebo, and therefore I won't get the benefit from this because I know there's a placebo and I might have gotten it, right? So I would not get the effect of this belief and this faith that things are going to be better. I wouldn't have it because I know. But the average person going into that trial and said you may get a placebo, that doesn't even blip on their radar because they've never considered it.
Right.
So they just put that out of their mind and don't think. They just think about, like the person that buys the lottery ticket. They don't think about losing. No one buys the lottery ticket and thinks, surely I'm going to lose. Everyone buys the lottery ticket and has some measure of fantasy that they're going to win. Right? The truth is that you have a better chance of getting bit by a shark or struck by lightning than you do winning the lottery. So it's a tax on people who are below average intelligence.
Yep. It's like that guy that got struck by lightning twice in his life.
Right. He should buy a lottery ticket. He should buy a lottery ticket without it. If you ask me, he should buy a lottery ticket. If he happens to get bit by a shark, he should buy 2 tickets. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Made in Paradise podcast. We do this every week, Monday through Friday. Please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you here. We'd love to hear your comments and questions. Leave those in the comments on YouTube, one of our social media platforms. And this podcast is sponsored by a company called Proven Performer, who happens to be the same people that you see on the screen right now. And we sell big closeout deals. If you have a big closeout deal, we're going to put our information up on the bottom of the screen, which are our phone numbers and our email addresses. And we'd be happy to talk to you about helping sell your inventory asset or other assets. We sell all kinds of things. Just every day we're surprised by the things that we are offered and the things that we sell. If you're listening to this, we have a deal coming up on some armored personnel carriers that were involved in an insurance claim. It's pretty interesting. So, stay tuned, hoping that deal comes to the table. Today, we're going to talk about something we talked about one time before, but the deal has gotten incredibly better, really like to an unbelievable level. And it's this EMOS Winery that's gone out of business. They have 283,979 bottles of red, white, and rosé wine, most of it being red. We have it completely manifested. This was a wine that was produced and sold in Asia. You can look up some of these wines. They were in Asia at the equivalent value of $200 or more. Some of them have really great scores. The product has to get out right now. The winery has shut down and it's got to get out immediately. It's down to 50 cents a bottle. All taxes are paid. Most of it is in Temecula, California. I'm going to say 95% of it. There's a little bit of it in a couple other warehouses. There are also 100 barrels of wine that are sitting there. It's all got to get out immediately. It's at 50 cents a bottle. Now, something else we might be able to do is let you take over the rent in this situation. So you keep paying the rent at the 3PL where it's at. But the owner wants off this rent. It's got to go. The winery is shut down. It's at 50 cents a bottle. It is completely manifested. Reach out to us at the information below. Our phone numbers, our email addresses. We love WhatsApp. That's the number one way that we communicate. If you do too, reach out by WhatsApp. We'll get back to you right away. EMOS Winery shut down, 283,979 bottles of wine plus 100 barrels. Your price, 50 cents a bottle, Ex-Works, California, all taxes paid. Let us know if that is something that works for you as an investment for the Made in Paradise podcast and the Proven Performer crew. I'm John Clark, along with Darren Fingleton and Anthony Ferguson. This has been episode 50, ladies and gentlemen. Most podcasts never make it this far. Glad you listened to us. See you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.